Hello! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is episode 21, The Interview. Today's episode is sponsored by J&K Productions. They produce all of my episodes, from adding the intro and outro music to editing the audio and all post-production needs. Contact them for your next podcast project at jkproductions.media. Hey everyone, it's Heidi, and today we will be talking about the interview process. And it just so happens that this week alone, I had about 6 interviews for different middle school and high school programs to teach private flute lessons in the DFW area. So it just happened to sync up with the episode topic, and my life are coinciding. So I think that's very neat. So I want to talk to you about just preparing for the interview first, because I think the more we are prepared, we will be going into the interview with confidence and with stability and just a good grounding. So let's talk about preparing for the interview. First things first, I think it's important to set up a mock interview. Ask a friend, a family member, a significant other to just go through a mock interview process. Have them ask you questions such as, why are you interested in this job? And be able to form your answers per the question. Have them ask you questions such as, tell me a little bit about yourself, and figure out what you would say. So going through the process and rehearsing before the actual interview, I think can definitely calm some nerves. The second thing that I would like for you to consider is printing off your curriculum vitae or resume. Having a copy with you on hand in a folder, a business-looking folder, maybe black or just something that looks professional. You don't want to go in with Lisa Frank folders. Putting a couple copies of your CV in a folder will look organized and prepared. Now, of course, you've already submitted a CV or resume electronically in order for them to even bring you into the interview. But if you have a hard copy and they want to refer to something, or sometimes people have asked me for a hard copy right then and there, and to be able to pull it out and say, yes, here, you're going to look prepared. The third thing I would like for you to consider in preparing for your interview is perhaps ask in advance, should I bring my flute? Sometimes these middle school and high school band programs, the directors want to hear you as a flutist. So this whole week in my 6 interviews, I played different repertoire for these directors. Some asked for samples of my playing, but others did not. So you never know. So I would, before going into the interview, I would ask ahead of time. So that way, again, you're prepared. And the next thing I would have you consider is your attire. And we all know that looking professionally is going to show that you care and you're representing yourself well. Now, consider too, if you're applying to a collegiate teaching position, everybody in that room probably will look the part. Business clothes, like a suit, a 3-piece suit, jackets, whatnot. But a lot of these middle school and high school band interviews that I had this week were during their band camp. So I knew full well that these band directors started their day at 7 a.m., they're going to 7 p.m., they're squeezing in an interview with me, and they are running down the field, up the field with their kiddos, so they're going to be in shorts, t-shirts, tank tops, baseball caps. And that's totally fine because that's what they're doing. That's what's required of them right now. But don't go in thinking, oh, I can kind of dress down because they will. You want to be the sharpest, most professional looking person in the room. So if you know it's a little bit more casual, still dress up, wear something very formal, business-like, and you will, again, just show that you're super prepared and that you care. So whether you are interviewing for a position to teach flute at a conservatory, a university, a middle school, a high school, whatever the case may be, just know that there's going to be a lot of similarities and differences with that specific situation. I have been in interviews where there have been very inappropriate questions asked, where topics like political issues have come up, or questions regarding personal information that I didn't think was quite appropriate for the interview. Just know that whether good or bad, these things will happen. And just be prepared going in knowing that anything could happen. And that's okay. Just be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If there is a question that is asked by the committee and you don't feel comfortable answering it, just kindly say so. And I think that's totally fine. My point is just know that every situation is going to be different. One interview to the next could be apples to oranges. So just know that going in. So when you show up to the interview, I would show up definitely 10, 15 minutes beforehand. And if you're sitting in the lobby area, I would put your phone away, because if you have your phone out and you're searching on the web or looking at Facebook and they come around the corner to call you in, you could look disinterested and you don't want to have the first impression, your head down looking at your phone screen. So I would definitely show up early and tuck your phone away in your purse or your back pocket. So when you show up and the interview has begun, just know that they are looking to see if you're a good fit for their school or their business organization, whatever the case may be. So answer your questions very genuinely and be yourself, because they are truly trying to see if you're going to be a good fit with them, the directors or the other professors or the students. They just want to make sure that it's all around going to work and that it makes sense. So be yourself. When the committee asks you a specific question, be very thorough with your answer. Get to the point, say, what's on your mind, what you believe, what you know, show them that you're very confident, and take your time. Just answer the questions thoroughly, take your time and smile. That's my best advice. At the very end of the interview, they will normally ask you, do you have any questions? And if you don't have any questions, that's quite all right. You don't have to ask them anything in return. But if you kind of have a couple questions prepared to ask the search committee, it could look very, again, prepared on your end and that you're engaged and that you're curious about X, Y, or Z. So you could consider having a couple questions in your back pocket to bring up when they ask you that question at the end of the interview. So to wrap up today's episode, if you go in prepared, plan a mock interview with your friends or family, dress well, print off a CV or resume to hand to the committee, bring your flute and play some repertoire that you really love, answer the questions thoroughly, and just show them your genuine self. You'll have a great time and do well. Next week, we're going to talk about the follow-up, what you do after the interview process. So stay tuned to that, because that will be episode 22. Thank you for tuning in today. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at heidikbegay@gmail.com. Thanks. Today's episode is sponsored by J&K Productions. They produce all of my episodes, from adding the intro and outro music to editing the audio and all post-production needs. Contact them for your next podcast project at jkproductions.media. Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. For more information, please visit HeidiKBegay.com. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review in the iTunes store. Let's talk about flute.